Hello, this is Julian with Coffee Reviews, and today we'll be reviewing the José Hernández Honey Processed Guatemala from Sweet Bloom Coffee Roasters. And there's the bag right there. And Sweet Bloom, based out of Lakewood, Colorado, and they're the coffee roaster we feature the most on this channel, as they're one of our favorite coffee roasters in the entire world. But it actually has been a little bit since we have reviewed one of their coffees, so seeing this Honey Processed Guatemala on their website was definitely something that caught our interest, as not only are we huge fans of Guatemalan coffees, but we've had such positive experiences with previous Sweet Bloom Honey Processed coffees, and this coffee did very much sound like our flavor profile, so it was a coffee we very much wanted to review. This right here is day 22 of this coffee. And this one was brewed through the automatic coffee maker, and I feel like that might be the best way we enjoyed this coffee, but the other recipe we settled on was a 17:1 water to coffee ratio at 200 degrees Fahrenheit, brewed through the V60. Now, Sweet Bloom traditionally is a light medium American for the roast profile, but this coffee felt a slight bit more developed than some of those other coffees, so keep that in mind, a little bit more on that developed side for Sweet Bloom coffee. But with that out of the way, let's start discussing this coffee. So day 7, which was our first impression, and it was a lot boozier than expected off that first impression. So some strong, heavy berries in the cup with a fair bit of the fermentation in the cup. So it wasn't the best first impression, and we did keep this in mind that with Sweet Bloom coffees, we typically don't have the greatest first impression. It's usually the second time we try the coffee, and even further than that we do experience more positive aspects of the coffee. Day 9, coffee still strong, boozy berry, and at this point we felt it probably needs a little bit more extended rest than normal. A little overpowering and a heavy bit of lingering chocolate in the finish, so we said, okay, we'll sit this coffee on the shelf for a little longer than normal and see if when we come back, a lot of the booziness might have settled down, as we've had quite a few boozy berry coffees this year, and we've found that one of the best ways to remedy that is to just let them sit a little longer than normal. Day 14, coffee improved a fair bit as it was significantly less boozy, but the booziness was still definitely present in the cup. More of a subtle stone fruit than before, but still it hadn't improved as much as we were hoping. So we were saying, okay, maybe even a little bit more patience, a little bit more rest will improve this coffee. And we were experimenting around with it, automatic coffee maker, V60, and Chemex. So we went back and day 16 ran it through the automatic coffee maker, and we found the coffee to be extremely toned down, which was better because it was such a heavy and strong cup of coffee up to that point that toning it down improved it, as we could still feel a slight bit of the lingering booziness in the entire cup of coffee being toned down, but very much still present. Slight berries too, better overall, not necessarily a huge improvement. Day 18, coffee has a very heavy and velvety chocolate body in the cup. This day we ran it through the V60. Strong from start to finish, more of the booziness is dying down slightly, but it is still a very heavy cup of coffee. Day 19, even with toning the coffee down, there is still an extremely heavy chocolate in the cup. Dominates from start to finish with some lingering stone fruits in the finish as well. It's getting incrementally better day by day, but not to the point where it justifies some huge noteworthy notes, because even with the slight improvement, it still has been, for the most part, as good on day 7 as it has been on day 19, so not huge improvements. Day 20 went back through the automatic coffee maker, and it felt like this was the best way to brew the coffee, as it just kept a lot of these aspects toned down. Have seen a bit of improvement from time, but still a pretty consistent cup of coffee. Didn't feel that this coffee was going to improve no matter how we brewed it, or no matter how much more rest we gave it, so day 20 was just kind of how we settled on this cup of coffee. Alright, let's go ahead and put up the tasting wheel so you can see what we're getting. Alright, and of course we must discuss the most noteworthy thing, which is the chocolate at a level 5. And I feel like the only reason I pushed that chocolate to a level 5 was it was the most dominant aspect of this cup of coffee, and it was definitely very strong. I don't know if it's actually a 5, it's probably closer to a 4, maybe like a 4.5, and bumped it all the way up to a 5, just to kind of highlight and emphasize how rich and strong the chocolate in this cup of coffee was, as it did overpower a lot of the other things in this coffee. Body at level 4, yeah, that's pretty surprising, especially, well, I'm guessing that we probably brewed and created this tasting wheel when we made it through the V60, so yeah, it's pretty strong. Finish definitely a level 4, could even bump that up to a level 5 with these kind of really strong fermented taste coffees. That booziness in them, they typically get a 4 or 5 at the absolute lowest. So the cleanliness, level 2, definitely not the most clean cup of coffee. Slight bit of savoriness. I mean, there's so much in this cup of coffee. As you're looking at this tasting wheel, there are some really high marks for a lot of these things. Berry at level 3, could probably push that one up to a level 4. It's probably about a 3.5. Stone fruit, I think we were being generous putting it at a level 3. It was probably more like a 2.5. Could have bumped that down to a 2. We were getting a slight bit of citrus. Again, there's just so much in this. Quite quite a bit of smokiness, quite a bit of bitterness as well. Higher on the acidic scale than we typically experience for a sweet bloom coffee. And then the sweetness at a level 3, which I think is a huge sticking point for me, because a lot of the reason I love Sweet Bloom's coffees is that they almost always hit that level 4. And the Sweet Bloom coffees that I've liked less have definitely been on the less sweet side, so seeing it at level 3 is definitely not the best experience for a Sweet Bloom cup of coffee. So as you can see, this tasting wheel is not necessarily what I experienced in the past with Sweet Bloom coffees or what I expect from Sweet Bloom coffees. It's very much different from a Sweet Bloom coffee. If you told me that this was another coffee roaster that made this coffee, I wouldn't be surprised, as this is definitely not what I was expecting. Alright, overall thoughts and impressions of this coffee. I will be completely honest, and it pains me to say this given that Sweet Bloom is one of my favorite coffee roasters in the entire world. This is probably my least favorite Sweet Bloom coffee ever, and I don't really know what happened here. And there are a number of things that could have happened. I've experienced this with so many naturals this year, and people have reached out to me and said the exact same thing. What's going on with natural coffees this year? They seem to be so boozy berry forward, almost every natural is, and we've lost a lot of the really pretty, delightful fruits. I was expecting this to be, a very kind of blueberry, maybe blackberry kind of forward cup of coffee sort of thing, but that's not what I was experiencing with this cup of coffee. I wasn't getting a whole lot of peach, so a lot of the things I was looking for in this cup of coffee I wasn't experiencing, and it was a honey processed coffee, so that's why I was even more surprised that it acted so much like a natural processed coffee. And it happens, I guess. I'm not knocking Sweet Bloom for this, as they're still going to be one of my favorite coffee roasters in the entire world, and not every coffee roaster is going to come out with something that you absolutely love. So unfortunately for me, this one was one of my least favorite Sweet Bloom coffees ever. Type of person I would suggest this coffee to. If you are enjoying the boozy berry, then keep that in mind. This is a very strong cup of coffee, so if you do enjoy these very, very strong cups of coffee, then I think this one's going to be for you. I don't know if it's actually reached that much of a market yet, if people are actually enjoying these coffees. I haven't heard anybody specifically say to me, I'm enjoying this very overpowering kind of dominant fermented taste in these cup of coffees, but if you are, then I think this is a good fit for you. I don't want to knock Sweet Bloom for this at all. It's a one-off. It happens. But I think that's my honest assessment of what I was experiencing from this coffee, and again, number of factors could have played into this. They could have cupped the coffee beforehand, gotten something different, and then when they actually got the green, they were just experiencing something different. I honestly don't know, but that's just what I can kind of leave this review at. If you by chance had an opportunity to try this coffee, I would love to know your thoughts and impressions of it as well. It's entirely possible I just messed it up. I always put it on myself if I can't get a coffee right, so if you might have gotten something different, we'd love to know your thoughts and impressions of it as well. If you're enjoying the content, give this video a like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. This right here has been a review of the José Hernández honey processed Guatemala from Sweet Bloom Coffee Roasters. Thank you for watching.